Hello, I'm Esther Roche and welcome to the Mom CEO podcast. Join me as we explore the dynamic intersection of motherhood and entrepreneurship. From the challenges to the triumphs, we're here to unravel it all. Get ready for insightful conversations, practical wisdom, and a whole lot of inspiration. Let's embark on this empowering journey together. Hello and welcome to the Mom CEO podcast. I'm your host Esther Roche, and today I'm joined by Gemma of Somnium Recruitment. Hello, Gemma, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Esther. Thanks for having me.
No, you're very welcome. It's a pleasure to have you today. So for the benefit of the audience, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the co-owner of Somnium Recruitment. So there's myself and Chris. We're 50% business partners. We both come from, traditionally, we worked in corporate recruitment, myself 11 years and Chris 7. I think for me today, the main thing that I'd like to share with the audience is just a little bit around how I've overcome adversity, first and foremostly. Come from a really male-dominated family, and with that, I had to very, very quickly condition myself to, not take things personally, and to really have the discipline to go out there and get what I want. And stand up for myself in certain situations. And I love that. And for me, it's not just about juggling being a mum and having a business. It's about kind of being a parent, and, because we all deal with the same things. And I think it's very possible. I think in society these days, it's very much a case of there's one main breadwinner in every family, right? And naturally, being somebody that chooses to have a child and being the mom, you are almost sometimes forced to choose, is it mum or is it a career, right? And I believe you can do both. Yes, it takes discipline. Yes, it's hard work and actually a lot of sacrifices here and there. But I can share some real key tips around what are the fundamentals that I do in order to have a fairly well balanced. Let's be honest, there's no such thing as perfect, right? And behind the scenes, my life is an absolute dysfunctional chaos, but the way that I carry and the things that I do actually make it work. So Chris and I set up Somnium Recruitment, was it 2018? Actually Chris set up initially, and then I joined him a couple of years down the line. And for us, it was all about having a bigger picture, seeing things through a different lens, really driving standards high in the world of recruitment. And with that comes more female leadership, comes giving, those opportunities. And I'll share some of that towards the end of this talk, actually, which is some really exciting stuff that we've got coming up. So yeah, it's a little bit about me. I'm happy to dive into some of the really uncomfortable parts that perhaps not many people share, but I'm happy to be vulnerable. And if it helps, just one person listening to this, then my work is done.
No, thank you so much, Gemma, for that. And it's it's really interesting that obviously you've got that background within the HR. And I just wanted to dig a little bit on, obviously, as from your professionalism as HR recruitment and stuff like that, how do you find the female sort of market, because obviously that's quite a big topic in terms of recruitment, the challenges that there are when you become a mom, or if you're a mom, and flexibility around work and everything. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately for me as a individual hiring, it's the right person for the job. It's the right person in the right seat, regardless of whether they're a mum, a dad, what ethnicity they come from, what background they are, do they have any disabilities. For me, it's the right person for the right role. Females in particular, I think, yes, there is a kind of gender pay gap, and that is going to take years and years and years to close that gap. I do feel like we're on an upward curve, but it does take not just one person. The more female leaders we have that make an impact on the world, the more that gap will be bridged. So if I was to put my hiring lens on. It's to give everyone a fair opportunity and be more flexible with those. So for example, Somnia Recruitment, we have one lady on maternity at the moment, and she's an absolute rocket, an absolute superstar. She intends to return to work. And with that, we'll sit down and speak to her about, what does that look like? What works for you and your family? What support network do you have around you? What's viable? What can you do? Because she's amazing talent and I wouldn't want to lose that. And she's still very young in her career. We have another lady that is pregnant that's due to go off as well. And again, you know, it's what works for that individual, because you shouldn't lose good talent just based on the fact, well, they don't want to work a Friday. Oh, actually, they've got school run to do every day, so that's going to be a hindrance. Absolutely not. So Teddy, my son, is now 9, and I've been juggling. I went back to work after 12 months, and I've been juggling. I actually set up 2 businesses within that time and went through a divorce and dealt with my dad that was really, really ill, and still made it work on part-time hours. And actually the output condensed into those hours was far greater than probably what I would have achieved over a full working week, because you're just literally in laser focus. There's nothing that's going to stop me. But with that, you have to, all of those things behind the scenes, the organization, the structure, setting boundaries, you know, because it's really easy for people to come in and grab your time, or someone be upset with you and your family because you haven't said yes to a function or an event or that TV program you want to watch. So I am a laser focus, be very structured, and see sometimes make those sacrifices. You are more of a social creator than consumer when it comes to, you know, your Instagrams and your LinkedIn and things like that, just purely because I don't have the time. And I'm like, where can I get a bit of time back to invest in what I want to do to succeed? So from an employer's standpoint, it's really taking a different lens, a different approach on things, and maybe just working on your female leadership team so that there is not an imbalance and things are seen in a different light. It's very hard to go in there and just throw in a curveball, make everybody see things differently. But I think if you can have more of a female influence on that board, then naturally that will have a ricochet effect throughout the company. And then being a working mum myself, it's more about what are the fundamentals you're going to put in place. It is really easy to pick one or the other. It is not so easy to balance the two in tandem. So yeah, it's just, and I can go so much deeper into that, Esther, in terms of like, I guess some of the key tips and hacks and things, and they didn't come naturally and easy to me, but I've just learned over the years to condition myself and kind of master my craft behind the scenes of the whirlwind of things that are going on, just to make it work.
Yeah, no, it's interesting there, because you've obviously set some, you know, all the boundaries and everything, and that's very, very important, because you can easily lose a lot of time on things that are irrelevant. But you know, I love the fact that you've touched on you know, your 2 members of staff and given them as an example with regards to them having maternity and flexibility, because I think that's a massive issue for a lot of women. You know, I know some women that have so much skill, so much talent, and they lost their jobs because they had children, and nobody will employ them because they need to pick up their kids and do the school run and everything. You know, do you find that generally happens quite a bit?
Yeah, so we obviously employ on behalf of many organisations, and I have to say we are super lucky. Chris and I's kind of real close to our heart as we've grown. We've always said there is enough business out there to turn business away if isn't the right business for us. So morally, ethically, and values wise, if the business doesn't align with us, what we stand for and what we're trying to create, then, you know, we'll say thank you, but no thank you. And I think with that, we're very blessed in that a lot of the businesses we hire for are flexible. They do offer, if not home working full time, then at least a hybrid approach to that, and part-time hours. And us as an employer here is something we're hugely looking at. We've worked super hard to create such a tight culture here. And with that, look, anyone's perspective from an outside looking in will know that recruitment is heavily male dominated. My first 11 years in recruitment, every single upline I had was male, every CEO, leader, and therefore that sets the tone within that business, because they don't understand. It's not really, it's just a shift in mindset. And the more you have female leaders coming in and working their way up, the more of an influence they will have on that business and therefore the rest of the world, in essence.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's so it's such an incredible sort of outline of, obviously your values and things. And what you've touched on there is something that I hear from quite a few businesses where, sometimes when you're starting out, you just want to work with everybody, but unfortunately you can't. You can't work with everybody. You've got to be specific, understand your values, and sort of, if somebody shares the values that you have as well, then you're quite happy to go along and work with them.
Absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head. It would be so easy to say yes. And, there have been times where we've both got so excited. There was one particular example last year, huge account, and it would have absolutely swamped our business. Firstly, it didn't fully align with our values. And secondly, it's a bums on seats kind of, and we're not that. We are everything but that. Our business is about driving standards within the industry and also giving everyone a fair opportunity. Everyone's got talent. Everyone's got something special. And so for us, it's about partnering with the right businesses to make sure that we're placing the right people into the right companies and growing, really. It's not a quick buck and, place a candidate into this role and then run off and over here something else is shiny. And, for us, it's about, we would rather far less partnerships, but we're on this kind of upward trajectory with them and we are long-term kind of partners for life. Obviously nothing is for life, but being really part of that journey and embedding yourself in them, their culture, their vision, and making improvement on that as well. We're very consultative.
Wow, I'm just intrigued by all the bits that you're doing, and how you're looking at it from a different perspective, because things can go wrong fairly quickly with different relationships and different companies and everything. What I'd like to have a look at more is, if you can give a bit of advice really, or hints and tips on sort of mindset, because for you to get to where you are, it's not an overnight process, and I know it wasn't easy. So if you can go into some of the challenges and just how your mindset helped you to shape up and get you to where you are today, that would be really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think number one rule of thumb for anybody is to know your worth. It's so easy to believe of yourself what others say. So what is said normally is what you believe. And so it's really important how you speak to yourself is how you want to be perceived in the world. So to know your worth in any walk of life, really, whether it's in a relationship at home, whether it's with a colleague, whether it's with a prospective employer, just know your worth, stand your ground, and have a voice. If you have an opinion, share that opinion. One of the most important things for me that I've learned in my career is how to communicate.
Yeah.
Because there are people from all walks of life that have crossed my path, and some nice, some not so nice. And actually, it's one thing that I try hard every day. There's one thing that I can teach my child. It is how to walk into a room and communicate effectively, whether you're speaking to somebody that is cleaning the floors and emptying the bins, or the person in the room that's got the highest net value and is the most successful in business. Like, both of them are and do deserve to be treated equally because they're human beings. So communication for me has been absolutely vital in my career, and actually has gotten me where I am today. I say yes a lot, and I don't mean in terms of being like a social butterfly saying yes. I say yes to opportunity, even if there's an element of risk. As long as it's calculated risk, I'll say yes and I'll learn later. And I think that's so key. We can sit there and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do it. I don't know where to start. But actually, unless you say yes and give it a try, you can figure it all out as you go behind the scenes. What's that analogy where on the top you're gliding like a swan, and then under the water you're paddling like a crazy duck? That's literally me. Say yes and learn later. Some people have used the whole fake it until you make it as well. Just believe. And I literally say this to my son every day, like, believe you can do it. If you doubt yourself, guess what? You're not going to do it. So there's a couple of things there. Be present in any situation in life. So it's quite amazing actually how many different hats I juggle. And while sometimes it may look like you just gliding through and it just comes natural, it doesn't. I have to fully decompress. So if I've had a mad day at work and meeting after meeting after meeting, and I go into the school run, do you think I'm just going to rock up to the school run in meeting mode on my phone at the school gates? That I literally have to switch the hat and just zone into what I'm in and being present in whatever, whether that's being a daughter, whether it's being a partner, whether it's being a mother, whether it's being a businesswoman. It's like, be present in that moment. If you can give that 100%, it's better than being 20% here, 20% there. Your mind's elsewhere. You're doing school emails while you're in a business meeting. That nothing is perfect. You can't be everywhere all the time. There are plenty of school pickups and school drop-offs that I don't do. But it's the time when I'm with my child that is the most important. And so that's how you can kind of get that equal balance. I see you nodding and smiling. I'm sure you have that in abundance.
I completely agree. And it's like quite a big skill, because sometimes I think when you're, as a mum, a working mum for that matter, I think sometimes you can kind of think, oh, whatever values and the things that you're doing as from the mum hat doesn't matter to what you do in your professional life or your business or everything. But there's so many transferable skills, because you learn to do so much with the children that you can apply to everyday life, that you can apply to your jobs. And it's not dead, really. You've got those skills which are so important. So it's bizarre, isn't it?
Honestly, and it's taken years to master. It really has. And it isn't something, look, I think everyone can wake up and have the choice to be disciplined in how their day pans out. I don't wake up motivated every morning. I would be, some sort of robot if I did. I am human. I don't wake up motivated every morning. But one thing I know is for sure, if something has happened the day before, the page gets turned, and today is a new day. And so I wake up with the discipline to know that if I do X, Y, and Z, I know I'm going to have a good outcome. And I think, again, that's something that's really, really important in life, in business, and in balancing the kind of motherhood versus career aspect. If we're talking going back to business, and again, I guess anything, but like, there's been two main areas in my life where people have said to me, they've projected their fears onto me. No, don't do that. That's a risk. The first one was, so I trained as a dancer when I was younger, actually singing, dancing, and acting all the same. And I went to a great dance school and built up a really good community. And was I the best? No. Did I have the strongest mindset? Absolutely. So it was my discipline and mindset that got me the results. Naturally, I was good, don't get me wrong, but naturally, was I the best? No, but I had to work at how good I was. I had to train morning, noon, and night. I had to put myself in uncomfortable positions. And a lot of the industry is tough, is really tough, and probably is why I'm so resilient today. A lot of it was face don't fit, or, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And one of the things that really stands out to me is that when I wasn't particularly academic at all. I enjoyed school, fairly popular, got on, had lots of friends, didn't enjoy lessons, didn't enjoy being told what to do, where to be, how to learn. I wasn't a rebel as such, but I wasn't kind of in awe of being told what to do, right? So, and actually I feel like that has been, my son is a bit the same, and I kind of almost don't want to drum that out of him, because it hasn't hurt me and where I am today. But one thing that really sticks in my mind is I was doing all my options at school, and it infuriated my dad. I didn't even know how to write a CV. I wasn't interested in any of my lessons. In fact, I used to skip maths and go in the music room and play the piano and sing, and just a bit cheeky, wasn't full on naughty. And it came to what are you going to do after school? And I just had this dream. I was going to go to the Italia Conti to train, and it's one of the best performing arts, well-rounded performing arts school. And my at the time dance teacher said, look, I can get you into the Erdang Academy. She had great connections, and basically it was the filter. Everyone in my dance school went to the Erdang Academy, which was in Covent Garden. And as flattered as I was, I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to be told where I was going to train, and I certainly didn't want to be gifted something on a plate. I wanted to work for it. And so, much to my mum's disgust, we were up and down to Barbican on the train, and I had audition after audition. I come from working class, so my parents would never have been able to afford to send me to the Italia Conti, but that was where I wanted to be. So audition after audition after audition, I finally got accepted with a scholarship, which is very rare. It's like 1% of the population in the school. So for me, that was a challenge. I'd earned my place there. And because I was told, no, you can't, you've got this thing on a plate here, all shining and sparkling, it kind of gave me that ammo to want it even more. So that's one thing where I really feel like if you listen to all of the influences around you, you could go down a very different path. And again, I had built up 11 years of a strong reputation. I was on a bloody good package. I had a great team that worked for me, a brilliant clientele in my career in recruitment. I'd worked up to operations management level for a company in the corporate world. And I went on maternity leave, and I knew when I was 19 that I would work for myself. I didn't know when, I didn't know how, and I didn't know what doing. I absolutely didn't have a clue, but I just knew I would. Went on maternity and hated not being independent. I mean, I'd saved a good wedge, to be honest, so that I could carry myself, but I hated the thought of my career slipping away. And I also hated the thought of going back and everything that I'd learned, it kind of just been a little bit wasted. And, you know, it's like a turning point. I was in my early 30s. And so it was like a now or never. The timings were pretty rough. So I went through a divorce, and my dad was also very ill. And so in that moment, maverick moment of mine, but it actually wasn't, it was very calculated. And behind the scenes, I'd already made up my mind what I was going to do. So irrelevant of which professional or parent or, you know, huge influence in my life had thoughts or ideas of what I should and shouldn't do, I'd made my mind up already. And I'd set up a fitness business, which had got to a point where it could carry me. Yes. So that I could then launch a business in recruitment, which is where my passion was at. I knew that's what I could make a really good living out of and almost have a very big impact on the world. It got to a point where my fitness business was really taking a lot of my time, and actually a lot of the people that were coming because of me and my energy and my classes. And so I was like, do I get an instructor to teach for me, or do I just, and this is that whole point of, some people see failure as a bad thing, but a lot of people think, oh, your business failed. No, it didn't. Actually, it was really thriving, and I sold it when it was in a great position. But if I didn't let go of that, I wouldn't have got where I am now, and I wouldn't have then gone into business with Chris and grown Somnium Recruitment to the levels it is at now. So going back to what's the kind of principle behind that is, I could have listened to some major influences in my life in that point, and I didn't. I kind of kept my head down. I steered the ship. I knew what I wanted. I didn't think about it's going to take me 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. I lived for the day, and I just knew that if I had the discipline and I did the right things that I know are the right things every single day, I will get there. So it wasn't for me about looking at the end game. It was about the here and now.
Yeah, it's you know, the key things for me is, one, you had sheer determination. You know, you knew what you wanted to do. You also figured out the how. You know, you knew you needed some income, because sometimes you get people saying, oh, I want to start a business, they've got nothing coming in at all, or give up a job before you've even got something running. So, you know, it's important to still have that little bit of income coming from somewhere to move you and propel you to the next level with whatever the next thing is that you want to do. So it's all calculated. You didn't just jump and just do things. You know, you like take the opportunity when you had the time, isn't it?
One thing that I would say also, Esther, is that there's never a right time.
No.
And the reason why I shared that example, and it is super vulnerable for me to share that example, but the reason why I'm sharing it is because a lot of people will sit there put off? Why put off tomorrow? There might not ever be a tomorrow. And I feel like you are exactly where you're supposed to be in your journey because of you, because of your decisions, and because of your actions. If you feel scared to do something or take that jump, that is the perfect time to do it. Because if you live in your comfort zone for the rest of your life, you'll stay exactly where you are. And so for me, it was like kind of fight or flight mode. And actually, I think when you believe in yourself, and support network is key as well. Like one of the things that I swear by is what I consume energy wise, and media, and social media and all things like that. So what I actually consider to consume is so important, because the top 5 people that you choose to spend, apart from your children obviously, because they're there, aren't they? They're just part of your life. But the top 5 maybe adults that you choose to spend most of your time with will have a huge influence on your life. Without even knowing, you will pick up on things, act in certain ways. So it's like, for me, I just wanted to, I guess this is a really good tip for anyone, be it male, female, whatever. Surround yourself by people that are higher than you in every aspect, and maybe more intelligent, and maybe more successful, and maybe more adventurous or risk-taking, because that will really support you and elevate you. I think some people think, oh my God, that's, I don't want to feel like I'm just so small compared to them. But I feel like the higher you aim, the higher you will go, and you can use and pull upon people's strengths. And I don't want to be the most intelligent or the most successful person in the room. I want to see people that I can not necessarily aspire to be like, but, pull upon their knowledge or their credibility or their skills, or, they can teach me a thing or two. So have you heard of the saying, your network is your net worth?
Yeah, that's
quite a commonly used saying, but I really, really live by that. And I feel like having Chris as a business partner, I don't know if you know this, Esther, but Chris and I are both business partners, but we're also life partners. I don't think I shared that with you, but we have some recruitment together, and we also have a blended family, so 3 children between us. And it's not easy, but I know at the end of the day, if everything tomorrow we lost, we've got each other. He's got my back, I've got his back. And we're not perfect, don't get me wrong. There are like loads of things behind the scenes that any normal relationship or even business partnership would have as challenges and kind of mini humps in the road. But I think one thing is for sure, that we have got the utmost support of both of us, and I'll push him and he'll push me, and occasionally I'll pull him. He's very kind of pie in the sky, and I'm a bit more calculated, so it works. Yeah, I think having the right people around you is so important. And actually, we've lost lots of people along the way, people that you may think are friends or acquaintances, and it's not until you really start elevating do you see that kind of that breakdown. I think sometimes people are more happy to be around you or in your company when things aren't going so good, or when you aren't so much of a threat. And so actually your circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and that's okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you've hit a nail on the head there, because that's another thing that a lot of people struggle with. And you end up, yes, it's nice to help, but sometimes you can just be constantly drained because you haven't got anybody else up lifting you up and supporting you and helping you to kind of move on. So, really, really great nuggets there for anybody who's listening. And one of the things I wanted to find out is, obviously with Somnium Recruitment, you've got some exciting stuff happening. What have you got planned? What's coming in the future?
So I can share this actually, because we've got a while until this is posted. So we're actually going through a major rebrand. It's been a long time coming. It's kind of been in the backdrop for the last 6 to 12 months. Very imminently upon us. So Somnium Recruitment are rebranding to Mixos Group. Right. We have a complete new face of the company, meaning behind it all. Our why, if you were to say to me, why have you done it? What does it stand for? We both grew up in Luton. You don't get more diverse than that. And for Chris and I, this whole rebrand is based around ED&I. So that is so important to us within the hiring process.
Right.
It's something that's really, really easily overlooked, right? And actually, some of our clients are great at it, some not so.
Right.
So it's firstly, just making sure that we are working with the right businesses that actually do value that and that are putting strategies in place to make sure that they have got some sort of outlook on ED&I. What does that look like? What is the right thing to do? How do we get the right person on the right seat? And this is a minefield. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of it now, but stay tuned. If anyone listening to this wants to know more, Esther, you're going to share my details around that, aren't you?
Yes.
Of how to contact me, whether it's hiring, whether it's juggling being a mum and having a career as well at the same time. But Somnium Recruitment, we've grown 300% over the last 3 years, which is absolutely astronomical. It's far exceeded our own expectations. We've not only created a company now, but we've also created a culture, which is one of the hardest things to do in a business. It's particularly a sort of a small and growing business. And to be able to do that and share that as a business that does recruitment for a living, I think is very powerful because we've done it ourselves. How can you sell something or do something that you're not practicing behind the scenes? So for us, it's all about driving those standards high. We didn't do a drop of sales or business development until probably 6 months ago. We've grown entirely organically. We've had no investment at all. That's the way that we choose to keep it. We've now got 11 employees, got an incredible CFO as part of our team. So this rebrand is really going to be the shaping of our future. I'm so excited. Yeah, I mean, it's taken a while, but both Chris and I are, in terms of like standards and what we know what we want.
So Gemma, you've given us quite a lot of insights and you've got some really, really exciting news coming up. Is there any final words and tips that you'd like to share with the audience at all?
You know what? I would say anyone listening, just believe in yourself, because if you don't, you get one shot at life, and it's so easy to stand and watch others from the sideline and think I'm not where I should be, or this person's here in their career, or this person's there within their sort of family life, and you are on your own journey. That's precious. And it's a ticking time bomb is life. So just be present in every situation. Don't overlook the small things in life, like gratitude. I haven't spoken to you about that at all, Esther, but it's something that I practice every morning, and I encourage my little boy to practice as well. The simplest of things are really, really easily overlooked. Just take that moment, be in that moment. Stop thinking about, oh my God, this client, or I've got this pressure on me, or I should have done this yesterday. Like, yesterday's gone, it's history, you can't change it. So always look forward, be present in the moment. Discipline is everything. Not everyone wakes up motivated and ready to conquer the world. But if you are disciplined enough to say no when you need to say no, and to have your everything in line, and also don't hang on to things that don't serve you. You're not a failure because you're walking away from a relationship, or you're walking away from a job or a client. Have that inner strength to say, no, it's not serving me. I'm going to go and spend my energy elsewhere. Don't hold on to things. I find that people do that a lot because of what other people will think. Oh, it's embarrassing, or what might someone else say to me?
Yeah.
So from just an everyday perspective, those are the kind of key things that I swear by. And lastly is kind of, I have this motto: get dressed up, show up, and never give up, because I feel like how you carry yourself, is exactly how you're portrayed, and it's not about just putting on the high heels. It's about everything. It reflects you and your personal brand. And if you are someone that's a go-getter, and you want something, you want to start that business, or you want to grow from X to Y, create yourself a personal brand. Don't just rely on your business brand. Utilize your LinkedIn. Make sure that it serves you well in terms of your profile and what it says about you, your picture. Absolutely. That's your show reel, ultimately. Yeah. So just create your personal brand. If you don't know what that is, you need to take it right back to your values. And again, we're going down a completely whole different path here, but know your values and what's important to you, and nothing else that's coming in is going to kind of steer you off course. It's your journey.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all those useful tips. And I do know that the audience is definitely going to connect to that because, there's so many things that we overlook when we're starting businesses or doing things, or just because I'm a mom is another one
Mhm.
where people just think, oh, I don't have to show up. I don't have to do anything or make an effort and everything. But it's also what the
Yeah,
values that we're leaving for our children is like, what are we teaching them, as well as how we are portraying ourselves when we go out and everything. And you can't be someone else. You can only be yourself.
right. I love that. That's the last note that I'd like to leave everyone with is don't leave yourself on the shelf, because it's so easy when you do become a mum to stop going to the gym, to stop caring about how you look, and it's always excuses. But no, you have to fill up your own cup. How can you be the best version of you and the best mum you can be without filling up your cup first? So it really is so, so important, even more so once you've given birth, to get back to the gym, to learn something new, a new skill, to make sure that you're taking that time out with your friends, to make sure that you're going out with your husband or your fiance, your partner, whoever it is, away from your children, because they see all of that. That is part of life growing up. Relationships, it's really important not to just completely become a mum and forget about yourself.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with that. And it's easily done, isn't it? Because you can
Isn't it
easily
just?
say, no, 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 I haven't got time and stuff, but you have time for other things. And
Yeah,
you touched on loads of those things. I know we're closing, but some things I think are just going to be, most people will think of what you've said, what you're consuming on social media and stuff, because it's surprising that people spend hours and hours watching something that's not, it's not really feeding the mind, it's not really adding value to what you're doing and stuff, but yet you're giving that time, but you can't give yourself time
yeah,
to look after yourself and just, it's a weird.
right.
Yeah.
These are the same people, Esther, though, that would say to me, oh, you're so lucky. You're so motivated. I see your Instagram stories and you're at the gym. And I'm like, yeah, but I get up at 5:30 to go to the gym. I never get up and think, I know, hang on, let me just have a look on TikTok or
Yeah.
Instagram. Like it isn't in my makeup. And yes, maybe it would be so easy to just do that. And it is hard to kind of challenge a status quo and do different to everyone else. But if I laid there on my phone, I wouldn't go to the gym. I wouldn't get up and go for a run. So it's about trading your time. Where is your time best spent? And actually, is TikTok and Instagram feeding your mind? There are some things that are really helpful. And in general, social media is fantastic if you are in the world of business. But generally every day it's not healthy, and it's something that I think we need to be teaching the younger generation, because it's only getting worse, is
Yeah.
that you put your phone on another room on charge in the evening, or you go on vacation and you do switch your work emails off and your social media off, because it is important to have that reset button.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. You've been absolutely brilliant, Gemma, and thank you so much for sharing all those tips. Thank you.
Thank you, really good to be on the show.